My fishing trawler's compass started pointing down into the water. I'm a commercial fisherman, and I've been working the same stretch of water off the coast for 30 years. I know these waters like the back of my hand. The currents, the fishing spots, the storms. I know all their moods. My boat, the Lady N, is old but reliable. It's a second home to me. I was about 50 miles offshore, working my nets in a spot that's always been good to me, when I noticed something strange. My compass, a beautiful brass and wood antique that's been on this boat longer than I have, started to twitch. It wasn't just wobbling, it was a slow, deliberate shiver. I figured it was just an old magnet giving out. So I pulled out my backup compass. The needle on that one was perfectly still, pointing north. I went back to my work, telling myself I'd fix the old one when I got back to port. The next day, the same thing happened. The old compass started to shiver, but this time, the needle wasn't just twitching. It was slowly, deliberately, turning. It didn't point north. It didn't point south. It pointed straight down, into the wood of the boat's deck. I stared at it, my heart pounding in my chest. I took the compass off its mount and held it in my hand. The needle, a perfect, elegant sliver of steel, was pointing at my feet. It was pointing into the water. I spent the next few hours trying to find a logical explanation. Was there a massive piece of metal on the seafloor? A magnetic anomaly? I went through my charts, but there was nothing. The seabed was a perfectly flat, sandy plain. There was nothing that could explain what I was seeing. As the sun went down, the needle began to vibrate so violently that it made a low, grating metallic screech against the brass casing. I could feel the sound in my teeth. I put the compass on the table in the cabin, and the needle, a silent testament to an unexplainable force, was still pointing down. The screeching was a constant, unnerving shriek that filled the small room. I couldn't sleep. I just sat in the cabin, staring at the compass, trying to figure out what was happening. Around midnight, a deep, resonant scraping started coming from the hull of the boat. It wasn't the sound of fish or a piece of debris. It was a slow, deliberate screech, like a massive piece of metal was being dragged across my boat's exterior. The sound was in perfect sync with the compass's incessant shriek, and the two sounds were slowly getting louder, more insistent. I felt a cold dread settle in my stomach. The compass wasn't broken. It was pointing to something beneath me, and whatever was out there in the deep wasn't just trying to get my attention. It was being drawn here, and now it was scraping its way up from the depths, and my boat was its target.